Redeemer Queens Park exists to help connect Jesus to people, people to community, and community to mission. And I just want to wish you a happy Easter. Thank you so much for dropping in on another Bible talk in the Redeemer Queens Park community. This is part 2 of 3 in a collection of talks this Easter weekend, in a broader collection of talks called All Are Welcome, where we celebrate the fact that Jesus welcomes all people, dealing with all sorts of issues. And this talk right here today is for the tired and those of us who need rest. It's Holy Saturday. It's the day between the suffering of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus. It's the day in the history of the church that people have traditionally reflected on their lives and considered, how is this actually going for me? So consider with me, how many of us today on this Holy Saturday feel like we're getting enough rest? How rested do you feel? Because this talk, this is an invitation to all of us who are tired and who are in need of rest. This is an invitation to the unhurried and easy life of Jesus. We all know that the world has sped up. You know, the clock was first invented by monks in the monastery that wanted to be able to keep time so they knew when they ought to pray. In 1370, the first public clock was erected, and this operated a shift in our consciousness, in our relationship to time. Before that, time was simply something we thought of with the way the earth spun around the sun and the way the seasons would naturally change. And in 1879, Thomas Edison created the light bulb, which cut our sleep way back. Up to that point in 1879, it's estimated that most people throughout Western cultures slept about 11 hours a night. How far we have come since then. Technology started to change our relationship to time with different labor-saving devices. Now, ironically, today, most of us feel like we have less time. And the great enemy is hurry. Hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day, so writes Dallas Willard. You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Willard and others even consider hurry a sort of violence against the soul. And this is something that Jesus actually knew really, really well. Jesus comes to people and he invites us to rest. And as we think about that invitation, which lies just before us, consider with me the interpretation of our times from Ronald Rollenhauser. He says, today a number of historical circumstances are blindly flowing together, accidentally conspiring to produce a climate in which it is difficult not just to think about God and pray, but simply to have any interior depth whatsoever. We are distracting ourselves into spiritual oblivion, pathological busyness, distraction, and restlessness are major blocks today within our spiritual lives. And here we are on Holy Saturday, asking the question, how is it going? How's it going? How's it going with your soul? In this last year that's been such a difficult year, how's your soul doing now? And how do we move from a place of living busy and distracted lives to another place where we become a more reflective people who are able to connect with God, to connect with ourselves, and to connect with other people? Good news today, friends. Good news. In Matthew 11:28-30, Jesus offers this gracious invitation, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Consider how beautiful this is. Right here in the Bible, the Son of God, Jesus Christ, the one who went to the cross, the one who died for sin, the one whose resurrection we celebrate tomorrow, he pulls back the veil and he lets us peer way down into the core of who he is. And when we get to see who he is at a heart level, we see that his heart is not austere and demanding. We are not told that he is exalted and dignified in heart? We are not even told that he was joyful and generous in heart. Letting Jesus set the terms, we get to see his surprising claim that he is gentle and lowly in heart. He's gentle and lowly in heart. What words describe our hearts? Really simply, for a few minutes, let me provide encouragements along two main veins. The first one, what we have, and the second one, what we need. First, according to Jesus, what we have two things. We have a deep restlessness, and we have a bad yoke. First, this deep restlessness. We all know it. We all feel it. We all feel this longing and this wondering, is there something more? Why am I not happy with all this stuff? Why in this house and in this car are things not as settled as they need to be? But even in our hearts, in our conscience, we ask the question, isn't there more to life than this? And Jesus is speaking to us. Come to me. I have an easy and a gentle heart for you. Jesus is talking about spiritual sleeplessness. Scientists say it's not the length of sleep that we need, but it's the depth of sleep that we need. You might actually sleep fitfully and toss around the bed for many hours and wake up and not feel very rested. But we need deep sleep. And if we don't have this deep sleep, we're moving through life in a fog. And the same could be likened to our souls. Our souls need rest. And when our souls don't have that rest, we're just wandering around this spiritual life in a fog as well. And Jesus is telling us that we need a deep heart calm. And we need this because we have spiritual heart longings. We're looking around and we're wondering. And it's because we're trying to prove ourselves in many ways, and we are. We're trying to prove ourselves to our parents. We're trying to prove ourselves to our friends. We're trying to prove ourselves to our children. We're trying to prove ourselves to complete strangers who don't even know our names. We're always trying to prop ourselves up before God and other people. And that's because deep inside of the human person, we have an archetypal, primordial longing for God. It's expressed in this consciousness of God's law that's inside in each and every one of us. We know we should be kind, but we struggle to. We know we should be more loving than we are, but we're a mess. We know we should look after other people, but we just end up looking after ourselves. You might call this God's law, and it's there. And Jesus, he means that people in all times, in all places, we are going to struggle with a weariness and a restlessness that might even be accentuated in our Western culture after this last year more than any other time. And here's Jesus calling us, come to him and to rest. So he points out this restlessness that we have, and he also points out this bad yoke that we're under. Jesus assumes you are already under a yoke, and he assumes you need a different yoke. This is profound. When you think of a double yoke, you think of a massive piece of wood with two metal rings in it. You would literally set two beasts of burden together, and they would work. And the younger and more immature, inexperienced beast would have to lean on the bigger beast, the more experienced and mature beast, to lead and to show him or teach him the way. And here's Jesus. He's saying, come to me, and come, take this yoke on you. Well, that means there must be something terribly wrong with the yoke that we're under. All we have to do today is consider the health of our own souls to get a sense. So, Jesus tells us what we have, and graciously, he tells us what's on offer. Two things, friends. Jesus first says, come to me. Come to me. This is radical. This is absolutely radical. Because when you consider who it is that's saying, come to me, this is the authoritative judge, but he's inviting us near. This is the promised Messiah, and he's inviting us near. This is the sovereign Son of God, and he invites us near. And this is the gracious Master. This is the one who spoke all creation into being, and he invites us near. Jesus was so full of Scripture, he couldn't talk without it coming out of his mouth. And here he's quoting Jeremiah 6:16. This is what the Lord says: stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. Jesus says, follow the path that I give you. I can lead you into rest for your souls. It's absolutely beautiful when you think about it. The Creator, the one who spoke all of this into existence and into being, he's inviting us to him, and he's inviting us to adopt his way. And when we think about the fact that he's inviting us to himself, we must wonder a little more about his motive in inviting us in. And he tells us he is gentle and he is lowly. Now, he's not saying don't think and don't use your mind. No, use it plenty. He's not saying don't reason, don't actually consider what's going on. No, reason all day long. But he's saying come to me. Can you hear him saying that to you right now on this Easter Saturday? If you were to even go and read the biography of Jesus according to Mark and use your brain as you do and do some deep thinking, then you would see what's on offer here as Jesus invites us to himself. And time again, people with deep skepticism, they come to the Gospel of Mark and they come to terms with who Jesus actually is. Maybe you'd have a look this Easter weekend. And if you do, you'd be encouraged. Because Jesus does not love like the world loves. Daniel talked to us about this just yesterday. We love until we're betrayed. But Jesus continued on the cross despite betrayal. We love until we're forsaken. But Jesus loved through that forsakenness. We love up to an limit, but Jesus knows no end. He says, come to me. And he offers himself for us. Think about it. He's saying, I'm the yoke. Think about it. He's saying, I'm the burden. And he's inviting people to take himself upon them. So for the Christian, why are you, for me, why am I dealing with restlessness still? Why do I find myself in these seasons where I just get burdened? Well, it's because the gospel is immense. Yes, we come to Jesus. We lay our lives into his arms. And then we just try to pick it up again, don't we? We try to live it on our own again. We try to live life in our own strength. Christian, this Easter, come back to him. Give your heart fully to him. You don't have to overcommit. You don't have to overwork. You don't have to overprove yourself. Allow him to do the work for you. And for anyone who's listening, look, you're here, it's Easter weekend, you're not yet a Christian. Consider, why are you working so hard? Why have you given yourself to career, to spouse, to children, to friends? Jesus says you can put all of that on me. You don't have to try to prove yourself to everyone else. Allow me to satisfy you in the deepest way. Because whatever's bothering you is draining you and tiring you is because your yoke is actually not tied to Jesus. So consider what's on offer. The text is full of wonder. Jesus says, come to me. It's the explanation of Christianity right here that is different than every other religious system in the history of the world. So this Easter, come to Jesus and give it all to Jesus. Give Jesus the full weight of your sin that he so graciously paid for in what we celebrate yesterday on Good Friday on the cross. And give Jesus your full inability to obey God and let him be God enough for you. Because Jesus gives us all he has. Jesus gives us a full pardon for all sin. Jesus gives us rest and peace before God. Jesus gives us his complete ability to obey God. Because the Christian life is not about what you and I must do for this God. The Christian life and the great news that we celebrate this Easter is about what this God has done for us. So come to Jesus, rest, and have life